I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Danny Strong, creator of Dopesick, who was nominated for a DGA award for the series finale of that series called The People versus Purdue Farmer. Danny, you have years of credits as an actor, producer, writer, and this is your fourth time, I think, as a director. What is the most unexpected or challenging part of being in the director's chair while also serving as the creator, co-writer, showrunner of the series?
Yeah, it's a complicated doing them at once, primarily because on this show, we had to block shoot a lot of it. So there was a period of almost 2 months where I was supervising two other directors while I was the third director. And it got to be very, very complicated because I'm acting as the showrunner and I was basically the de facto producing director of the show. So I've got to supervise other directors and then direct myself at the same time. So there were times where I really got screwed out of prep. And I would sometimes show up on locations that I hadn't been to and had to shoot, which I didn't realize that it was going to turn out like that until then. There's things that sometimes you don't realize are going to happen, and then all of a sudden I'm in the situation, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't been to this set. But I had an incredible team and an incredible cinematographer with Checo Varese. So we were able to make it work. But yeah, that was, I think, the most difficult part was doing the producing director job and then being a director simultaneously. While having to supervise other directors, sometimes, on the same day, where we would, in the morning, one director would shoot, afternoon, another director, and then I would step in and finish the day with one scene. It was a very complex situation.
Absolutely, to navigate that every day, as well as trying to put your best foot forward in terms of as being an artist. So the morning of the DGA TV nominees announcement, what was your reaction when you found out you were nominated amongst this really amazing group of people?
I was so blown away that I actually screamed. Like I screamed like I was 14 years old, like at a Hanson concert. Does anyone even know who Hanson is anymore? Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
I was like so happy and completely shocked. I was really hoping Barry Levinson would get nominated. I thought if we had a shot at a nomination, it would be Barry. And then I saw Barry was nominated and I was like, oh, we did it. And then my name was, a few after. And I was just blown away. And these directors, they're incredible. These shows are incredible this year. So it's a thrilling group of people that my name is with. So I'm humbled and just like kind of floored by the whole thing, to be honest with you.
I can imagine. And, when I look back at what you're most known for, as a creator, you tend to gravitate towards social or political subjects that are kind of transformative and things that have really kind of impacted American life, particularly now Dopesick. I'm just wondering, what does it say about you as an artist that you are attracted to that kind of subject matter?
Well, I don't know what it says about me. I will say that, in my 20s, I was a pounding the pavement actor, right? Where just any job I could get, I would, take any audition I could get. I'd be thrilled to have the audition. And simultaneously during that period was the buildup to the Iraq War, and the Iraq War itself. And I was so enraged by it. I remember just being so enraged by so many parts of American politics, while at the same time, I'm like auditioning for like my Golden Grams commercial and, like autoweb.com, like, please, I hope I get the autoweb.com audition or job. And then so when I started writing and I started to focus on social issues, it was something where it was just a way to exercise my anger and my frustration at events in the world. I never thought anything would get made or that I would actually say something that millions of people would watch. Like, that literally never crossed my mind, and that it would ever happen. Like, I never believed something like that would happen. It just was a really healthy outlet for how I was feeling about what was going on. And then lo and behold, the first thing that I get made is this movie called Recount, about the Florida recount. And the film wasn't just about the Florida recount. It was about the 6 years after the Florida recount. That's when I wrote it. I wrote it in 2006. So I was talking about that entire, the recount for me was a metaphor for the next 6 years of American politics and what happened. And I think very, very much it's only just gotten worse, what I was trying to talk about in that piece. And it was really gratifying to do that. And it was really fulfilling. And so I haven't exclusively done those types of pieces, but I do try to come back to them as frequently as possible. And when I did Dopesick, I was specifically looking to do something like that when John Goldwyn, the producer, came to me with the idea about doing a piece on the opioid crisis. So I thought, I even said to him, I said, well, that's exactly the kind of thing I'm looking to do right now.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I knew what the opioid crisis was all about. I thought I had it kind of down pat in my mind, but I really had no idea, to be honest, how insidious and how far-reaching, this awful legacy that the Sackler family had left everybody. I didn't understand what Dopesick even meant until it was explained on the series. I just wonder, given that you say you're so interested in current events and you're angry about things that are happening in society, what did you learn about the opioid crisis from actually being involved in bringing this thing to life?
Everything. I mean, it wasn't something I was that familiar with at all. There was a big article in 2017 in the New Yorker written by Patrick Radden Keefe that kind of blew the whole Sackler family story up. And I had read the article and I was blown away by the story as so many people in the country were. This article was a huge turning point for the Sackler family because they had been written about over the years, but it had never really taken fire. But there was something about what this journalist had done and the way he had, laid the case for their actions and the consequences of their actions that it really caught hold. And then Nan Goldin, the artist, started doing these really audacious protests in museums all over the world and really blew them up into the national villains that they so deservedly have become. But like you, I knew there was an opioid crisis, and I knew OxyContin was supposedly bad, but I didn't really know that many details about it until I dove into it as something to potentially write about.
So this show takes on such a harrowing journey. I thought we were going to see some pretty confronting stuff. I didn't really realize how confronting it would be. These corporate drug lords have wrought such devastation across America. What I find most compelling and what could have really turned really bad in this series is the way that you tell this story in a very non-linear, non-chronological way, and you toggle between the personal and the personal stories, and then the agents and lawyers going after Purdue at a more macro level. I found that so compelling, and that could have really not been compelling if it was not done properly. I'm wondering why you decided to tell the story in this way.
Well, to me, I was looking for a more bird's eye view, a more story that told more of the totality of the event than actually one specific story, because I think it's far too complex a subject matter to tell in one specific story. I think if I were to have just focused on, say, Michael Keaton's character, and that would have been the whole show, I think it could have been quite powerful, and he's unbelievable in the show, right? But I don't think that would have told the full story of the opioid crisis in the way I wanted to tell it. And my sort of hook into it as a piece of drama was when I read that there were investigations by a U.S. attorney and his prosecutors and a DEA agent. I thought, oh, okay, well, there's investigations. So then I could have some type of a thriller engine. And then I thought, well, I've got to have the victims. And if I'm doing the victims, I got to be inside Purdue Pharma with the criminals and show the crimes being committed. And I thought, well, that could actually be a really dynamic way to tell the story, because it could have a multi-dimensional tone to it. The investigators has sort of more of a thriller tone. The story of the Coal Town and the victims has a very tragic addiction story, which I thought could be very powerful, that would contradict nicely to the investigation story. And then the story with the Sacklers had its own sort of demented, warped crimes, at times almost a black comedy, slightly weird tone to it. And I thought, well, you mix these all together, and if it works, and if it could feel like one piece, which was one of the big challenges, was making sure that it all felt like one piece. Visually, we did slightly different visual styles with each, with the color palette, nothing too overly dramatic. But putting that all together, I thought, well, that could be a really dynamic way dramatically as entertainment value, but also, as thematically, to just tell the story on all these different levels, from victims on the ground in a small coal town to the halls of the Justice Department, to Congress, right, to the halls of the DEA. And then the last element of this was the time period jumping, which was not really an artistic choice. It was actually a huge pain in my ass, but I was stuck with it because these investigations happened in different time periods. And I really wanted to show the crimes. So I thought, okay, well then we'll just have to jump around in time periods. And that was, from a writing point of view, very, very complicated in post. I was constantly reordering scenes because it would just be confusing to jump too quickly within different time periods, or clunky. So that was something that I was almost working against, but I thought, if I could get that to work for me, it could add to the drama, add another level of sort of dramatic tension and excitement, to have a scene in 1996, and then you cut to 2003, and the investigators are talking about that scene we just saw. So it was something that I was hopeful I could make work in a dynamic way.